Hello, everyone. Welcome to Adobe Live, your daily dose of creativity, hosted over on Behance. If you're joining us on YouTube, make sure you join on Behance, and we've got the live chat that we'll be monitoring. My name is Joe Allam, and I've been given the reins by Adobe to host on a weekly basis for the foreseeable future, hopefully. A few people from my creative network, and today I'm joined by a fantastic photographer, Ellie Dyduch. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Ellie, and let's get through on the stream.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ellie, and I'm a travel and lifestyle photographer based in London. I've been doing this photography Instagram creative thing for the last 4, maybe 5 years max. And well, when I think about travel photography, it's such a broad subject that well, mainly I photograph the architecture. I love photographing street life and also the local aspects of all the places I travel to, which I even mentioned in my bio that I like to show local side of places I visit. And so it varies. It's often, the views, the streets, the architecture, and what locals do, how they just go along with the life and just mind their own business. I like those candid shots where people just do their own thing, and so it's not only about, the beautiful views or the beautiful streets, the places, but also about people that live there and what they do and where they go, where they shop, where they eat. And when it comes to my editing style, I love quite dark palette. I love vivid colors and quite high contrasts, and it took me a long while to actually come to find my own editing style over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's been a long journey, and but that's a part of creative process. You learn as you go. The more you shoot, the more you edit, the more you find your own style, your own way of editing, I guess.
One of the things that's always drawn me to your images, so I started following you a couple of years back when I was looking for my sort of local inspiration for London. And you're obviously based in London and taking a lot of images around here. And I really did appreciate that sort of local aspect rather than seeing from, say, a tourism perspective of getting the major viewpoints and the things that all us as locals see every day and don't really take notice to. But it was seeing that local aspect that I really love about your work. And there's probably going to be a running theme of the people that I'm hoping to introduce on this stream, of photographers who focus on those sort of nuanced bits of life rather than just the huge aspects. And also, speaking of locals, we have quite a few sort of local residents in the chat already on Behance. So there's some familiar faces we've got in here. So hopefully we'll get some questions along the way with people like Gareth, Kirsty, Sandrine. Who else we got in there? Angus. Quite a few people who are here on a regular basis, which is all good. But I'm very interested in seeing your workflow, because as you mentioned, you do have quite a dark style, and there's definitely like a warmth to your images, which I personally struggle to Is the monitor? Yep. Quickly search. All good?
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Twice on the stream. That's okay. I need to. I've got an audio interface coming tomorrow, actually, so things are going to be cleaner. But yeah, please do interrupt if my audio cuts out, because we don't want that. But anyway, let's have a look in your Lightroom workflow and
okay,
maybe share some of your images and see what we got.
Yeah, so I had a hard time choosing images because well, I've got so many. So I chose one photo of London that was quite one of the most popular photos of mine. Sorry, my computer decided to be quite slow now. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Hopefully I've got audio on as well. That all sounds good. Yeah, so your images here.
Oh, now it's...
Oh my God, they're just so beautiful.
Okay, so that's an image that I took during London Open House from the top of the dome of I think Westminster Hall or somewhere in Westminster. So that place is open just once a year, and yeah, I just managed to get a booking, and it was really raining so much at the day. And when we got to I don't know if you've ever been, but when you get to the dome, there is just a little bit of roof. So I was just standing with my camera, with my umbrella. It was really impossible to take any photos, but luckily I managed. So I've got quite good memories with that photo. So whilst editing, I try to keep that editing style quite moody and also quite dark, and keep the shadows dark. Anyway, sorry, just give me a second. I'm gonna reset it.
No worries. So Open House is something I've wanted to go to for a long time. They do it, I think, is it September every year?
Yeah, it's like the end of September, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they do it this year? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but I think if they did, probably it was online. Maybe they did some online tours.
For those of you who don't know, it's an event hosted by the London boroughs collectively, and for various tall buildings and just sort of main structures, not necessarily tall actually. They open up for a day or two and you can book a slot and you can go to these usually inaccessible places to view. So that could be things like top of the St. Paul's Cathedral, or certain areas of some of the tall buildings around Liverpool Street, and all these different areas. So it's a great way to get to see the views of London that are only ever accessible by the people who work in those buildings. I've never been able to book a slot. I always happen to be away when it's on, and then the time that I'm in London, to be honest, I completely forgot, but I don't think it's happened this year.
Yeah, that's what often happened to me. I was going to go to Open House like twice, and every time I missed, I just forgot. And I saw people sharing photos, and I was like, oh God, again I forgot. But yeah, last year I managed. Because of the weather, it was hard to take any great photos, but for the moment it stopped raining, so I kind of managed to get the shot of that view of Westminster Abbey. Okay, so let's get down to it. What I first do, so enable profile, the lens correction is already done, and automatically, and first I use transform tab to either use vertical or auto, just to see what looks better. Probably auto. Yeah, roughly. then I just do a few more corrections so it's all straight. Yeah, more or less. And then I just go to, so it also depends what I edit photos for. If it's for my portfolio or for a client, I just use the free tool, so just to see what works best. But for Instagram, I just go straight to Instagram ratio, which is, I think, more or less like this. Yeah, and then I go to basics, which is because I usually shoot underexposed photos, I often cannot see what's actually in the photo until I go to Lightroom and just go like this. So I can see what's there. So it often, tell me.
Was this shot on a Sony by any chance?
Yeah, it's Sony, yeah. So
you've got complete all brightness.
Yes, I just want to see what's there, and if anything needs to be like deleted or cropped out. And I roughly just set up the slides in a similar way. I like shadows to be quite up, like highlights down, blacks also a bit down. I bring dehaze a little bit up, clarity maybe a little bit up, and saturation a bit up, and vibrance a bit down. So just like more or less, and I can see it a bit more clearly what's happening.
Yeah.
Then I go to 10.
It's almost like you've normalized the image.
Yeah. And I obviously don't like the colors and how it looks, but I can actually see what's hidden in the corners. And with tone curve, I normally use it also in a very similar way. I bring the highlights a bit down and the shadows a bit up. And then I curve it a little bit here, so it's more or less like that. I don't know if that's the best way, but I just know that it works for me, and it works for majority of the images I take. So I just stick to it for from like 90% of the images I take. So that's the third step, and the fourth step is the calibration, and I think that's where actually what I miss in Lightroom mobile. This tool, that's what actually makes the images. I think that playing with this calibration tool and split toning, it's what helped me find my own style. And that's what
there's a lot of creativity in those controls.
And that's what I maybe other apps have it, I don't know, because I don't use them, but when I did, I really missed that calibration tool. So the reason why I switched from Lightroom mobile to Lightroom desktop was mainly this calibration tool. I found it really fun, and so for this one,
Did you start your editing on mobile first? Was that your introduction into editing?
Yes. I started on mobile, and I think I started like ages ago with Vasco app. It was like in the very beginning, and then I switched to Lightroom mobile. Just because when I was traveling, I didn't really bring my laptop with me, so it helped me to edit on the go. But then the more I shoot, the more limiting I found that app, and I just missed this calibration tool that I discovered once I downloaded, once I started using Lightroom on desktop. So, with that one, I would probably bring the reds quite up, maybe to somewhere here. And the greens.
You mentioned before that you use a lot of your presets and you've created things for, I guess, consistency across your work. Do you find that the presets you've sort of made for yourself dabble mostly in this calibration tool? Is that where you've sort of continued to tweak your secret sauce, I guess?
I would say yes. And like all the presets I have like followed the first few steps. So like the tone curve is usually the same, and here the settings are roughly what you see here. And obviously it depends on the photo. You always do these final tweaks. But and then they all vary in calibration and in split toning. So so I first started playing with calibration just to see what works, what not, and I leave it for a moment, then I go to split toning. I like my highlights to be quite warm, maybe around 40. And my shadows, I keep them from around 225 to 230. Maybe 222 sometimes, somewhere here.
Yeah.
And so like I see what works, what I want from the image, and then I go back to calibration tool, and I just double check. So I would probably I would keep it like this for now, and then I go to colors correction. So like I love in my images this feeling that I love my shadows to be quite cool, quite, somewhere like maybe dark purple, maybe dark blue, and I like my shadows to be quite warm. So when I go to colors, I try to enhance the colors like orange, yellow, and for some reasons I like to bring the I don't like blue, but I like dark gray, so more maybe something like that. And
just noticing with this image, so it had obviously been raining that day, so that really brings out the natural sort of vibrance in the scene. But a lot of your images, they don't look like they were taken during the rain. Are you a fan of that sort of wet down look to an image?
Not a fan, but before I loved shooting when it was overcast. I just found it easier, but now I like shooting much more when there is some sunshine. I just find it more interesting, and the challenge is nice. It's just nicer. But that was the day when I was just, it's this only time during the year when you can go to the top of the dome. So you just work with whatever you've given. So it's not the best weather condition. But
for me, I love that.
You love when it's overcast?
Yeah, I love with the just when it gets dark and gloomy. And I'm actually hoping to go out shooting today because it looks like it's going to rain. And this image is just inspiring me on hoping to get something like that. I love it when it's just been raining and everything's got a huge sort of saturation to the richness of the tarmac, for example. And but some people don't like that.
And well, I also think it depends on the city and the place, because with London, the wet weather really suits the architecture, the streets, but when you shoot somewhere in like Italy when it's raining, it does not really work that well. So I don't mind the like overcast and rainy weather in the photos, but I feel definitely more inspired to shoot when there's a little bit of sunshine, like in golden hour, or not too harsh.
Yeah.
And with open house, it's open during certain hours in the middle of the day. So having overcast, it was actually better, because otherwise there would be like harsh light and harsh shadow. Yeah. So that was also helpful. Not the best to hold like umbrella and a camera in the other hand, but it definitely helped with shooting. So the image here would look more or less like that. Then I just go to basics and I just double check. What I also love to put saturation quite high, but the vibrance quite low. So I would say probably maybe aspect a little bit. Yeah, that would look more or less like that.
Did you find open house was mostly just visitors or mostly photographers, or is it like a good mix of people?
I think a good mix of people. I can't recall meeting any tourists, like people that look obviously like tourists. There was a handful of photographers, a few of them with like tripods and bags and like properly ready to go and shoot. But also I met some Instagrammers that were just there with their phones and just doing some stories. And all sorts of people. And many people don't know about this place at the top of the dome. So after posting this photo, I posted this photo twice, I think, and also in stories. And I received like so many messages, like did you use the drone, or how did you get permission to use the drone, or where did you climb up? It's not. I didn't know about this place, and I only found it through someone's Instagram like a few years ago, and I marked it. I was like, I'm gonna go there in September. And it took me like three years, because every time I just forgot about the open house. So if anyone is interested to see Westminster from above, that's a really good place to be, because you can just see the panorama all around, and there's also good angle to shoot Big Ben. So when it's ready, when it's gonna be ready finally, hopefully next year you can go there to the top of the dome and take the photo.
And do you shoot handheld, or have you used like tripods at all? I've just seen a question in the chat from Kirsty, I think it is, asking about a platypod. Have you ever used that?
No. I just shoot with hand. I don't own any tripod. I had a little like gorilla tripod that I bought for one of my trips, but it broke and I just left it there. Just threw it away. No, I just carry my camera in my bag or in hand, and I just shoot as I see.
Yeah, no, I personally prefer handheld. Tripods are just big, bulky, and quite often you're not allowed to take them in places either. In some of the trips, I was in one trip, I think it was in Indonesia, where you're not allowed to bring your tripod in hand luggage. So like it was quite annoying for everyone to just put that tripod in the main luggage, and people were afraid that they were gonna lose the luggage, lose the tripod. So it's quite heavy, and it's like I just prefer to just have my camera ready and my phone in the other hand to maybe take some short videos for my stories. So and I just feel like you said, like with tripod, it's just too much hassle. Yeah, of course. And do you shoot with just the one camera, or do you find yourself, if you got a limited time in a view, are you swapping lenses, or do you have a second camera with a different lens on at all? Like, what's your shooting style like?
That depends where I am. When I go to shoot just by myself or with some friends, I choose the lens that I want to shoot with at home, because I don't like changing lenses when I'm outside, and I normally shoot with 24-70. Which I find is the most versatile and the easiest to use. But recently I've been playing with it's 50 or 55, 50 I think, 50 1.8. So it's a bit more challenging because I have to move around a bit more, but it's just a beautiful lens, and I love shooting local people, local, like little places, little bits and pieces with that lens. So I have like a bunch of photos to edit later with from that I just took with that lens. So yeah, I also think that it helps when you feel like you're a bit stuck to just play with lens that you don't normally use.
Yep.
And just to go outside and take photos of things you don't normally photograph, just to, it helps you look at things from a different perspective a little bit.
So how do you find with like inspiration on things? So you've been in London for, I think I saw on your website, 15 years or so. Is that up to date, correct?
No, I moved to London. It's gonna be actually in a week 8 years. So I moved at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of October 2012. So it's gonna be 8 years.
And do you still find inspiration comes easily when you're around London, or have you become sort of a local to things that you have to really hunt for it? I know a lot of people struggle to shoot in their familiar surroundings.
Well, that's a good question. I think I've also grown a lot over the last few years, and the things that I photographed in the very beginning, like 5 years ago, are very different to what I would normally photograph now. I just maybe got bored with just the sameness, and I started looking for a little bit different things, and I got interested more in light, and it helped me to get out of my creative rut that I got in like a couple of years ago. And I think photographing locals, like in early mornings or early evenings, helps a lot, because there's always this element of diversity. You can't predict who's gonna be where, what they're gonna do. And before I was just photographing architecture, maybe some interiors as well, but I found there is a limit to it, because how many times you can photograph the same street, the same building, the same interior. So I slowly started to move on to different subjects, like mainly people. But I'm not an expert in it. I'm not like, expert street photographer. There are just so many great ones, forever inspiring. But I just feel that there is, it's harder to get bored when you, especially in travel photography, when I look at the photos from, say, someone went to visit the Philippines. I mean, certain views you see in magazines or in movies or on Instagram, but I've been always curious about like the local aspect of it, like what locals do, where they live, and what they eat, how they dress, and what So it also helped me feel like I was there and experiencing the places, and it also brings this depth to travel storytelling, rather than just showing architecture or streets.
Yeah. I've just seen a couple of other comments and discussion in the chat at the moment about Lightroom Classic versus the new Lightroom, which I know we were chatting about just before going live. Do you have any thoughts on the difference between the two? What is it that kind of keeps you on Lightroom Classic?
I'd like to say more, but I don't know, because I just stick to Adobe Lightroom Classic since the beginning. I've talked about it with a few friends, and they were like, "So, what do you think? What do you think?" But like, I just stick to Lightroom Classic. So unfortunately, I have no opinion.
No, it's just comfort in using the same.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
Perhaps because I also find the more I focus on technical aspects, then I overthink it, and the less I actually focus on the my goal, like the creative process and editing the photo.
Yeah.
So I probably should learn a bit more about like those little tricks on Lightroom and things, but I just think that at the end of the day, I would stop editing photos because I would just get too much into details.
Yeah, no worries. Do we want to carry on with this image, or do you have any different one you'd like to go through? I think
I just finished, so it's more or less the outcome would be the final result would be as you see. I also sometimes airdrop the photo to my phone and see how it looks on the phone before posting, and then I send it back, and then I just do the final touches. But yeah, roughly it would look like that. Okay, then I have, maybe let's go for this one because it's got a little bit different color palette. So this photo I took during my road trip in northern Spain last fall. And it was this little village called Cudillero in Asturias, I think. I've never heard about it. I just discovered it a day before when we were planning the following day where we're gonna go and the road. And it's this tiny village. I think there are maybe 2,000 people live there. And we just venture out in the morning. It was really cold. Climbed up on the hill, and the views were amazing. And it's this little part of the image that I cropped. So actually the original looked like that.
Oh, wow.
So it's very different.
That's very different. Yeah. Did not expect that at all.
So it was, I like to crop quite a lot. So again, let's get down to it. So I bring the exposure up just so I can see the details. So I go to transform, probably. What would look like that?
This already is a very different workflow to what I've seen other people.
Is it?
By raising your exposure from the very start. It makes perfect sense though, because you get an overview of some of the things that you may not have seen at the time you're taking it, but you also get to sort of inspect your image at a greater detail. In the same way that you would with doing audio editing, you would normalize things and get it all to a base level and then apply everything that you want to do. It makes logical sense. maybe
because I take underexposed photos, and when I take them and I check them on my camera, I can't see. So first, when I just edit the photo, I just want to see the details. So that helps me. But maybe not everyone takes so heavily underexposed photos and they just see the details straight away. So it would be roughly like that. I think it's not very straight, but okay. I would probably leave the maybe shadows just a bit up. Yeah, okay. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so
is this the A7R? If you've got such a tight crop, that must mean you've got a big resolution to start with.
yeah, I shoot on Sony Alpha 7, the first full frame Sony camera.
Okay.
Yeah. I was about to upgrade the beginning of this year, but then the lockdown happened, so I still haven't. But I'm looking forward to upgrade sometime soon, probably maybe even before the end of the year, because I've got this camera for the last 2 years, and it was actually my first camera.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had like point and shoot Nikon ages ago, even a couple of them, but I bought a full frame camera a couple of years ago in October maybe, or in September. And because, it was the first camera, I didn't want to go for like Sony, although I really wanted to go for Sony A7R Mark II or something. But I didn't think it was sensible to do if it's just the first camera. So I was gonna upgrade very soon after that, and it's been 2 years and I still haven't, but I'm looking forward to do it. What do you use for shooting, Joe?
I shoot with a multitude of cameras.
All right.
My go-to is a Fujifilm XH1. That's kind of my go-to for photography. But this year I've had the opportunity to test a number of different cameras through connections for my YouTube channel. So just recently I've been shooting with a Hasselblad, which has been fun. And I got a few different brands, but my Fujis, that's what I'm always drawn to, especially for the street and urban sort of stuff.
Let's go. Right. Okay, so would probably so again, I like my highlights to be quite warm, maybe something like that, and then the calibration maybe something oops.
Already just the difference from the original image to what we're seeing here is hugely different, and I'm still shocked by how much this is a crop in, because originally looking at this I would have thought that was a tele lens and taken from some sort of distance, but it's really not.
No, I often miss having a like tele lens or something when I shoot, but they're just big and heavy, and they when I took this photo, I didn't really think this would work. I just loved the view, and I just wanted to capture it, just to be honest, for my parents, just to show them where I was.
Okay.
And then when I was editing, I was like, actually, I might work with that image. When I zoom it in, it's not really the resolution is still okay. It's still quite sharp.
Still nice and sharp.
Yeah. So I just and I love that image ever since. So
I love the oranges you get throughout all of these scenes. You said this was northern Spain, right?
Yeah, and their rooftops, many of those
very earthy and
and I often many of my images So I like like I said, I like my shadows to be quite cool, maybe dark gray, a little like maybe purple-ish, but I like to balance it out with either warm highlights or some orange, red, or yellow elements. So yeah, here the shadows are not really that. Yeah, something like that. So they're a little bit cool, but the rest of the image is very warm. Yeah, so that I think the final effect would be more or less like that. And I also love green elements, and I think, yeah, I think that photo has everything that I love, like nice architecture and green frame, and there's red, orange rooftops. What you can't really see in that photo well, that village is actually full of colorful houses, and in this photo, for some reason, there are just many of them white. But yeah, that village is famous for, like, every house got a different color, and apparently the color of the house matches the color of the boat that they own.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so
if one goes floating astray, you know which one to bring it back to.
Yeah, probably yes. Probably yes. Yeah, so I think that would also, I like at the end, that also depends on the image, but I like to play with vignetting. So I usually, yeah, something like that. And
yeah,
I
that
would
really lends it well, because you've got the natural framing of the trees. So
yeah,
that
and if there is,
further.
you know, if there is like a nice element in the photo that I want the eye to focus on, I use this round mask. Like, say I want people to focus on that house. I normally use it with when I photograph people in streets, but yeah, I would do something like that. Okay, that's not the best photo to show it on, but you know what I mean. So sometimes I do it for sometimes I do it for even for architecture photos, but yeah. So and also at the end, where is it? I think.
Were you on this road trip with many other people?
No, I was actually with my boyfriend. I was with my boyfriend, and we decided to go to northern Spain because, like, we love Spain, but normally we found that, like, people just love to go to the southern Spain or to western Spain. And we both love wine, so we were like, why not to go to northern Spain and check some vineyards? And that was the original plan. And
nice.
But then, because of the time limits, we were just like, okay, we might not be able to see any vineyards, but let's just maybe, you know, drive around and see those nice villages and places. So this Cudillero village was completely unexpected. But many of the villages in northern Spain have this sort of look and feel to them. And Cudillero was voted, I don't know by which magazine, it was voted as most beautiful village in Europe. And I was like, I've never heard about it. But it's, you know, reminds me a bit of Cinque Terre in Italy, you know, where everyone loves going and photograph. Yeah. But in that place, we did not see many people. It was like quite empty. So it's one of these hidden gems that it's just beautiful to be at and photograph, but not overexposed on on Instagram or, you know. Yeah, so I would say the final effect would be more or less like that. I would maybe bring the clarity a bit up just so the houses look a bit sharper. Yeah, I would say more or less like that.
Lovely. How was the wine in Spain then? Did you get much of it in the end?
It was good, but because we were driving so much every day, we didn't really drink that much wine. Yeah. There was a limit, and at the end of the day, we were just so tired. We went to bed like at 10. Good kids. And getting up for sunrise. I think the sunrise was around 6 at the time, or maybe 5:30.
Yeah,
so
early starts,
and yeah. But if you ever want to go to see maybe different side of Spain, yeah, northern Spain is beautiful. Beautiful, and
I've never been inland to that part of Spain. The closest I've been, I guess, northern Spain is Barcelona. But yeah, I'd definitely like to go to some of the sort of mountainous regions.
Yeah, northern Spain is great. Yeah, I don't know if you have any more questions about this particular photo.
No, I think we've actually covered quite a lot of depth on that one. Did you want to go through the third one?
If you'd like me to.
Yeah.
We've
got about 10 minutes or so, but
that's doable.
Ooh,
okay.
This is great.
So that's one of my recent photos. Sorry, it's loading. That I took in Gdańsk in northern Poland, in the old town, and many houses that look like you see in the photo, like gingerbread houses, very full of character and color, and just so beautiful. And this row of houses was maybe a couple of minutes away from the Airbnb I stayed at. So I saw it from the window, and very early in the morning, I just went downstairs to take the photo. And the original photo actually looks like that. So,
oh, wow. Such a difference.
So the light wasn't the best because the sun was I think it was just behind the buildings. So, yeah.
Seeing your finished image, they almost look like flavors, like in the same way of ice cream. What's that? Is it Neapolitan ice cream? That's like 5 different flavors, all in a tub.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, maybe I leave this. Okay, so in this photo, I wanted to focus on the buildings and their details. So let me just go quickly. Maybe more or less like that.
There's been quite a lot of chat about multiple different platforms for posting your images. Would you say that Instagram is your main focus on things, or do you ever post, I know you have your blog as well, but do you ever post to other social platforms?
No, I just use Instagram mainly for the community aspect. And I just like chatting to people there, and actually I've never even thought about posting something to different platforms. Do you use different platforms? Is there?
No, I mean, my main ones for me are YouTube for my videos about photography, and then yeah, Instagram and Twitter really. But way back, I used to use Flickr a lot.
All right.
And then I just kind of stopped using Flickr. I guess they changed their design and their methodology on things, and it just didn't feel kind of natural for me. But Instagram became a great sort of I guess focal point, like you say, for community. And I've met so many people through Instagram, and that is what keeps drawing me back.
Absolutely.
To using it is.
Absolutely. And even through like, you know, hard times, creative times, when you don't know what to post, you still want to go back to the app because of this people aspect of it. Always there's someone to chat with, and well, we've been doing it for a while, so we created our own communities of people that we know.
Yeah.
Which was also very, very cool and helpful during, especially this year when so many of us just stayed at home. So we were able to just, you know, jump on Instagram and chat to other people that we know. Right. So just going through the basic, again, the highlights a bit warmer, shadows a bit cooler. And here I use the contrast, quite high contrast. Maybe. Right.
So I guess if we were talking flavors, this is definitely more autumnal, but it's tasteful. It's not like some creepy pumpkin type of dish of some sort. It looks tasty.
Okay, so that's more or less like this. And what I did with this photo that I didn't do with the previous two, I wanted to, because I wanted to bring attention to the buildings, I wanted to hide the ground. I don't like light pavements in my photos. I find them very distracting and just don't like them. So normally I hide them quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that. And then I had to deal with those funny clouds and the highlights. So I just used the brush and on auto mask. So maybe like it's thinking.
Yeah, the auto mask can really do wonders for picking out things, and I feel like with every update it has improved significantly.
Yeah.
But as it's showing right here, sometimes that can be a little too much if it's streaming at the same time as you know, doing all these things at once. But it's holding up. It's doing all right.
Yeah, roughly. So.
Yeah. Was the bird in the image? Were you trying to capture a bird, or did it?
No, it was
purely by
unexpected.
chance?
Yeah, that was just purely by chance.
Nice.
Hold on, my laptop is thinking quite a lot about this brush. Okay, here we go. The sky the red mark should disappear. Oh, okay.
There we are.
There we are. So I just played with it and to see what works, what not. So I wanted to.
That's the thing with Lightroom. So much is just playing and just seeing how it works. Like if you're completely new to Lightroom, it's sometimes easy to just open it and just move things and go to the extreme and see how it works and if it's what you like or not. And I feel like everyone goes through a process of over editing their images to start with as we're experimenting and learning what it does, and then over time you find your style, and that's kind of where you narrow yourself.
And every time when we look back at our old images, we just cringe how much we've changed, right?
But that's, I think that's a good sign. If you're not doing that, there's a chance that you're probably not improving. So I think it's good to cringe at the old ones.
So it would be more or less like that. I think I would bring I think with that photo, what I did, I edited each house manually because I had quite a lot of time. So I just went with brush, and I just brushed every house, and then I just enhanced the colors or, clarity and depending on each house. And I wanted all the houses I wanted the windows, the white windows to stand out. And the colors to be also quite like vivid. That's why I wanted to hide the ground and get rid of the harsh highlights and the clouds. So more or less it looks like that. And I think also with this photo, it's great kind of photo to experiment with because it's got many details, many different colors, sky and ground, and you can just when you have photo as this, you can just experiment with all different tools in Lightroom, which is which I think is great especially for the beginners, because you then just see what works and what does not, and like some houses are warmer, some are a bit cooler, so but more or less the final result would be something like this. But again, I normally send a photo to the iPhone and then I actually take a proper look. And because it depends what's the final place you publish the photo. If it's for my website, I check it how it looks on the website and then I edit again. But if it's for Instagram, it's also a bit different. So I don't know if you have any questions about this particular photo.
This has been great. I mean, the images you've shown, they're beautiful. They're just lovely. Are we able to just see a quick before and after on this one you've just edited with the backslash?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's very
Such
different.
a difference there.
And
of course, as you said, with a lot of tweaking and the original edit you did with the adjustments individually, you can spend hours on this, and we've got limited time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to show. I just wanted to show more the basics, how I do the tone curve and calibration and split toning. And I think that's where the most magic happens with all the photos.
Yeah, this is actually a great example. So just questioning on what it is that we're doing here. So this is the before and after tool. You can split on your X or Y axes. So as you can see here, the top image is the original, and then the one afterwards with the same crop applied. And that previous one was a great view of how it has changed. Useful tools. We are just about out of time on here, but this has been fantastic. Thanks for sharing your images, Ellie.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
And who are watching this on the recap, if you'd like to go and follow Ellie's work, then I guess Instagram or your website is potentially the best place. And,
yes,
I know I'm always
Instagram.
looking for your inspiration.
Yeah, Instagram and under dy_Ellie, or my website, Dyduch.com.
Great. And if you guys want to continue the chat with Adobe, there is a separate Discord channel. Again, for those of you who are new to Discord, it's sort of like a digital community, various different chat rooms. You can go and communicate, and there's a lot of healthy activity on the daily from all of you guys in the creative community. So you can join Discord with the link that should be on the screen momentarily. And that's a free invitation for people to go and join. And all of next week is Adobe Max. So if you haven't already, you can go and register for a whole host of free live sessions. They've made Max completely free this year, and it's honestly one of the biggest resources of creative training. I've been to the in-person events the last couple of years and absolutely loved it. So I'm excited to see what they do for the online one this year. And tomorrow on the stream, we have the book club with Sarah Coleman, and some more streams for the rest of the week. But thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Ellie, for sharing your process.
Thank you, Joe.
Great. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. All right. Catch you later, everyone. Bye-bye.